Holy balls. Hi makeup friends. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Huda Beauty Gold Obsessions palette. I'm going to give you my thoughts on the palette. We're going to do some swatches. I've got an eye demonstration included as well. But before we get into that, I want to welcome you back to my channel. Or if you are new here, then welcome. My name is Kara. I'm a working mom of two, and makeup is my escape. It's my happy place. It's basically my therapy. On my channel, we like to mix beauty, brains, and the occasional F-bomb. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, just keep on watching. All right, so the palette is exclusive to Cult Beauty. It's celebrating 5 years of Huda being on Cult Beauty, so that is, at this point, the only place where you can buy it. I don't anticipate that changing at any point. It retails for 27 Great British pounds, which works out to about 36 US or 47 Canadian. And in there, you're getting 9 different shades. So let's back it up for a second and take a look at this incredibly beautiful packaging. I love it. I love it. I don't know what it is. It's like the marble effect or something. I think maybe if gold had been dropped down a little bit, I'd be that much happier with it, but I love the design of it. And then inside there are the shades. So obviously you get 2 very gold toned palettes in here. As per usual with Huda Beauty palettes, things tend to run towards the rosy side of things, so don't be surprised by that. There are 3 matte shades, and then the rest are all different levels of shimmer and foiledness, I suppose you could say. But it is a very pretty mix. For my part though, the rosy tones, as much as I love rosy tones, and I really truly do, I find that they just play up the green in my eyes. It's in weird contrast to the very gold nature of particularly these 2 shadows here. I think if those matte shades had been just a little bit more neutral, a little bit more towards the brown side of things, I think it would have been altogether a little bit more cohesive as a palette. That being said, some of these shimmer shadows do have pink undertones to them, so it does work in that regard, but for a Gold Obsessions palette, with 2 really strong gold shades, the mattes are a little bit strange. Obviously it's workable, I've got them on my eyes now, but I would have preferred to see a little bit more of neutral shadows being offered as the matte tones. But having said that, why don't we get into some swatches and then we'll do the eye demonstration, and then I will share my thoughts in terms of the performance of the palette on the whole. Let's do that. Alright, so for this video, I'm just going to use a picture of the swatches that I did. This is taken in natural light in my living room, so just ignore the background of the picture. But let me know in the comments, what do you prefer? Do you like having a picture on the screen with me talking over top of it so that you can really take your time to look at all the swatches, or do you prefer to see live swatches in the video? But for today, this is what we're going to do. So you obviously can see them all swatched out there. There are some similarities in some of these shades, but you can really see those rosy aspects to the matte shadows there, and then just how beautifully gold the 2 true gold shadows are. Especially that one on the left. It knocks my socks off. I think it's so beautiful. The shimmery shadows, I mean, there are 3 that sort of all look very similar. There are differences, but as you can see, once they're swatched out, I mean, they're pretty interchangeable. If you had one on your eye versus the other, I don't know that you would really see much of a difference in that respect. So that's kind of unfortunate because there's only 9 shadows to play around with to begin with, but it is a pretty palette. It's just, I think it could have been, honestly, I think it could have been a 5-pan palette. But having said that, why don't we get into the actual application of these shadows so that you can see them in action. Hi! So as usual, I have my eyes primed with the Gerard Cosmetics Clean Canvas Base in medium. So to start off the eye look, I'm going to go in with this light pink shade here on a Sigma E40 brush and put that into the transition area of my eye. This shade is basically the same color as my skin, so it's really not showing up on me. It'll do well for helping other shadows blend, but I don't see a difference. Do you see a difference? It's just not showing up. All right, I think that's about as good as it's gonna get with that shadow. It does show up a tiny bit, but I'm gonna go ahead and deepen things up a little bit using this deeper pink tone over here. This is a Vallear EO7 brush, so I'm gonna put that into the crease and blend it up. Not quite as high as I did with that shade, but well, you'll see. That is better. That's definitely better. All right, much better. I'm much happier with that. But I am going to deepen things up even more. I'm going to go in with this deep matte brown shade. I'm going to pick it up on a MAC 221 brush and put it into the outer V and run it along my lower lash line as well. So I'm just going to pat it onto the outer corner, and then I will go ahead and blend it to where I want it placed. I just want the heaviest concentration right out here, which is why I pat that into place first. Just going to go ahead and build that back up again because it seems to be losing some of its intensity as I'm blending it out, more so than what I would expect it to for a shade as deep as that is. So I'm just going to build it back up. All right, it took a little bit of time, not gonna lie. It took some time to really build up that intensity because I want it nice and deep and dark on that outer corner, but I was finding that as I was applying it and then blending it out, it was just getting altogether too sheer. So this is about 3 different applications, if that makes sense, like dipping back in and building up just to get it to this level of opacity over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up with the brown on this eye, and then we will get into some of these fun sparkly shades. Before we move on to the sparkly shades though, I'm going to go back with that Vallear brush and just pick up a little bit of that mid-toned pinky tone and just blend out where that dark brown is. Okay, now it's time to play with some of these sparkly shadows. I really want to play with this gold, and I think it's going to go well with this one. This one's a little bit deeper, so I'm going to put this on the outer portion, this on the inner portion, and then I'll use one of the other ones for the inner corner. That's the game plan. Okay, so to pick up that middle shade here, I'm going to use the Vallear EO6 brush. I have such a hard time with these because they've used like really, really deep gray lettering on a black handle, so it's really hard to see the shade or the brush number on it. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up that shade there. And just for the lulz, I am going to go ahead and use a setting spray on it, just so that it's as intense as possible. Okay, and then I'm just going to pat that pretty much not all the way to the corner of the lid, but like overlapping that brown shadow. I'm not going to lie, picking it up on the brush is a bit of a challenge. Just going to use the same brush. I'm just going to flip it over to the cleaner side. Notice I didn't say clean, I just said cleaner. And I'm going to go ahead and pick up that more goldy tone. This one's a little bit more brassy. This one's a little bit more of a true gold. This one is picking up a little bit easier on the brush, but it's still not super fun. I think finger is probably the best way to go about with these. You can pick it up, it is on there, you can see it is depositing, but it doesn't like the brush all that much. Oh, but that shadow is beautiful. Oh my Lord. Oh, she's stunning. I'm not normally like a huge gold fan. I think my tastes are changing a little bit, but I like that one. Oh, she's pretty. Holy fuck, that's gorgeous. All right. Holy balls. Holy balls, that gold is gorgeous. Hey, Huda, I know that this is an exclusive palette, but like, release that in a single pan, please. People deserve that. Whew. All right. Okay, for inner corner, we have some options here. Got these ones and then these two up here. These two are pretty pink, although to be fair, it is a Huda palette, so pretty much everything's fucking pink, right? Even this is a warm toned brown. But regardless, with all this gold going on, I think I'm gonna go for this one up here and hope for the best. I'm not losing my mind over this one, but like, let's be honest, that gold set the bar really effing high. All right, liner and mascara. I am not bothering with lashes because the last time I did lashes, they betrayed me, so they're in a timeout for right this moment, but I will be back to give you my final thoughts on this in just a moment. Okay, so here we are, completed look. On my lips, I have Velvet Teddy from MAC, mixed with a little bit of this one from Ofra and Jen Love. This is the deepest of her mixing shades that she created. It's called Reimagine. So I just patted a couple drops on that just to deepen up Velvet Teddy. Okay, let's talk about this palette because I think there's definitely some highs and some lows. So I'm not going to tell you one way or the other whether I think you should buy it because obviously that is your decision. For my own sake, I will use this palette. I will, but I will likely bring in other palettes to use with it, especially when I go in with these gold tones, which, let's be honest, those are the standout shades in here. The rest aren't really anything revolutionary and aren't really anything that we haven't already seen from Huda, but those two golds, chef's kiss perfection, especially this one right here. I'm still losing my noodle over it. I think it's so incredibly beautiful. As I said when I was doing the swatches though, I think that this could have been a 5-pan palette. I really do. I think that would have been a better option. I think it would have been something new for her brand, and if she really wanted to celebrate 5 years, a 5-pan palette would have been perfect. Next time, Huda, call me. I've got the ideas. Regardless, I don't think it's a bad palette. It's just not the best that I have tried. The light pink shade here, it just doesn't come up to play. That may or may not be a bad thing depending on your skin tone and your own preferences. For me, it's a little bit of a lost opportunity when you only have 9 shadows. I would have liked something that shows up on my skin tone, but of course that's just speaking from my own perspective. With the shimmer shadows, I would have liked a little bit more of a differentiation once they're actually applied. In the pan, they do look different one from the next, but once they're swatched out, they lose a little bit of that uniqueness because there's nothing so strongly different about them once they're applied. They just kind of all sort of blend into one color. So I would have liked a little bit more differentiation amongst those. I recognize that some of them are considered toppers while others are more foiled shadows, so by that very nature, they are going to apply differently and one is going to be more sheer than the other, but the undertones still could have been a little bit more strongly played up in the palette. With the mattes, like I said when I was doing the application, they do kick up a lot in the pan. It's nothing that I haven't seen before, even from brands like Anastasia Beverly Hills. You just have to be aware of it and decide if that's something that's really going to bother you or not. It doesn't really bother me. I think what puts me off a little bit more about the mattes is just how almost too easy they are to blend, especially that deeper brown. As I showed when I was applying this look, I really had to build it up because it just blended away. These foiled shadows, very difficult to pick up on a brush. So just running it across the top isn't going to do it. And then you kind of have to find that sweet spot. But in doing so, at least for me, I spend a lot of time just sort of running across the top, trying to find how much pressure, and then inevitably I dig too far into it, and then it kind of messes up everything that's in the pan. So again, there's a bit of a finesse to it. I think finger application is probably going to be best for these. The only drawback to finger application is that you lose some of the precision. So again, you're going to have to weigh all those variables for yourself to determine whether or not this is a palette that you want to spend the energy working with, because it's not one that just sort of applies itself. Overall, I think the look is really pretty, but there certainly are some drawbacks to the palette. So with that said, as always, it is your decision what you do with it, but I am going to link the palette down below in case you are interested. It is an affiliate link. I really do appreciate when you guys use those affiliate links. It just helps to support the channel so that I can go and purchase things like this to talk to you about, to help you decide if you want to purchase it. Does that make sense? All right, we've clearly reached the incoherent rambling stage of this video, so that is my cue to wrap it up. So thank you very much for taking the time to watch, and I will see you in my next one. Until then, just be a decent human being. Bye for now.